Chapter 27. Lisa sat at her desk looking at the pages of neatly written script, her eyes now and then drifting to the newspaper clipping included along with all the color photos she'd pulled from the fat envelope. She was, yet again, surprised by Brett Turner, who is now Brett Hollister. She and Sam had got married in March, and the letter was filled with details about their honeymoon. To Lisa, however, it sounded more like an Ironman endurance test because in typical Brett fashion, they had gone whitewater rafting in British Columbia, had helicoptered into the interior to hike on a glacier, and then whale watched a pod of orcas off the Queen Charlotte Islands from the dubious safety of a rubber dinghy. Brett complained in her letter about having to work overtime now at Home Hardware to help pay off their visa bill, a rocky mountain of debt, as she called it. But from both her account of their adventures and the pictures she had sent, it was clear she and Sam had enjoyed every minute of it. It would take more than falling from an airplane to slow Brett down. What are you looking at, sweetheart? Lisa jumped, turned to see her mother in her bedroom doorway. Brett sent me some pictures of her honeymoon. Really? May I see? Lisa casually slid Brett's letter over top of the clipping as her mother entered the room. She picked up the pictures and moved to the bed, spreading them out for her mother and herself to examine. Oh my, said Diane. Who do you suppose was brave enough to take this one? She held up what looked to be a shot of Brett and Sam standing on the edge of a gigantic sheet of ice that dropped away dramatically behind them. Lisa grinned. Had to be someone almost as crazy as Brett. The two laughed quietly as they pored over the remaining photos. Then Diane stood up. Okay if I read her letter? She asked, moving toward the desk. Lisa got up quickly, gritting her teeth to conceal the twinge in her left leg that caught her momentarily. She scooped up the letter and envelope. As soon as I finish with it, she said with forced nonchalance, I'm only halfway through. Okay, Diane said. Jack's taking us out to dinner tonight, so I'll be on the deck with my novel while it's still warm. Bring the letter down when you finish. Lisa listened to her mother go downstairs, but waited until she heard the patio door slide open before closing her bedroom door and returning to her desk. She pulled the newspaper clipping out from under the pages of Brett's letter, looked at the black and white photo, and read again the 4 words Brett had penciled on the page. A person can change. She absently rubbed her thigh, easing the cramp that had caught her, and looked out the window over her desk. She remembered hearing those same words spoken to her at the rehab the day she'd had her fixators removed. I'm not going to lie to you, Lisa, said Dr. Dan. This will hurt. Is there anything that doesn't? She wanted to ask as she stared at the ceiling, but she was afraid she'd just start crying again. The way she had cried the night before, despite having jammed the corner of her pillow into her mouth, she'd made noises that had even blocked out the sounds Stephen made. Or maybe Stephen had lain awake listening to her for a change. I'm going to give you some local freezing first, okay? Explained the doctor. That will dull the pain somewhat. It won't stop it, but it should make it more bearable. That's what she needed, Lisa thought. Something to dull the pain. She could have used it yesterday. You bastard, what are you doing here? She made a straight line with her lips, tried once again to keep from crying. Don't you know who this is? If it starts to hurt too much, you just squeeze real tight, okay, sweetheart? Diane said. She gripped Lisa's right hand while Jack, his face pale but determined, held her left. That's what my husband told me the night I gave birth to our son, a nurse offered as she passed the doctor the needle. Did it work? He asked. The nurse laughed softly. I nearly broke his hand, she said. Lisa tried to let their small talk do its job, get her mind off things, not the medical procedure they were involved in, removing her fixators, but the drama that had unfolded before her the previous day. Is this some kind of sick joke? Wanted to forget the shock, the deception, the betrayal. That monster is the one who put you here.